The concept of scoping and Python allows for greater control over elements in your code, which reduces the chances of accidental or unwanted changes. By the end of this video, you'll be able to understand the basics of scoping in Python and identify the 4 types of scope. Before you explore scope and its intricacies, it's important to know that Python has different types of scope. You'll examine each one in detail, and I'll demonstrate them with coding examples. In order of ascending coverage, the 4th scopes are local, enclosing, global, and built-in. Together, they're referred to as LEGB. Variables within the built-in and global scope are accessible from anywhere in the code. For example, if there's a variable A in the global scope, it can be called encode at the local level. The purpose of scope is to protect the variable, so it does not get changed by other parts of the code. For instance, let's say you've declared a variable B in the enclosed scope and variable C locally. While B can be called in local code, it doesn't work the other way round. As a rule, global scope is generally discouraged in applications, as this increases the possibility of mistakes in outputs. Now, I'll explore using the 4 different types of Python scopes in this practical demonstration. The first one I want to use is global scope. I declare a variable called myGlobal, and then give it a value of 10. So the next thing I do is declare a function, and I call it fn1. And inside this function, I will declare another variable, which I'll call local variables, or local v, and give it a value of 5. To show that my global variable is accessible from anywhere, I can do a print statement, say access to global, and then print out the value of the myGlobal variable, and if I want to run that function, I need to specifically call it, so fn1, click on run, and then the value of 10 is printed out for the global variable. But if I try and print out the local variable inside f and 1 outside the function, it will return an error. So I access to local, and then puts out local_v. I've been clever console. Click on run, and I get an error saying name error, name local_v is not defined. That's because it's only accessible from within the local scope of the function fn1. Next, to illustrate an enclosing scope, I'm going to declare a second function inside fn1 called fn2. I then declare an enclosed variable, which I call enclosed phi, and assign it the value of 8. The local v will be local to the fn2. I'll now explain how enclosed scope works. Within fn2, I've got access to the enclosed v, which I can demonstrate by doing another print statement and printing out the enclosed v variable. I'll just test that this will work by calling the fn1 function, and then making sure that I call our fn2 function inside fn1. I must physically call a function to make it run, so I clear the console, click on run, and then prints out access to global 10 and access to enclosure 8. The way scoping works is that the innermost function has access to almost everything from the outside. You can access the enclosed variable at this level, and then also access the global variable at the outer level. The same rules still apply from the outside, so if I try and access the variable of enclosed v, or trying to access the variable of local v, I get the same error that the variable enclosed v is not defined. The nested items have access to both the global and the enclosed, but from the outside, it can't be accessed from a nested or an enclosed scope, both the local and enclosed. The last globe is built-in scope, which you've been using when writing code in Python. Built-in scope refers to what's called the reserve keywords, such as print and def. Built-in scope covers all the language of Python, which means you can access it from the outermost scopes or the innermost scopes in the function classes. That's a brief demonstration of scope in Python, including examples of global, local, enclosed, and built-in. By completing this video, you've gained a broad understanding of why scoping is important in Python programming, and you are now able to identify the 4 types of scope.